Happy New Year and welcome to the channel. My name is Waldo, and in this video we're going to be installing a performance exhaust on this Duramax project truck. This is Brandon, my 2005 GMC 2500 HD. I bought it at a salvage auction, and at only $3,400 I got a heck of a deal. It has the highly desirable 6.6 liter Duramax V8 diesel engine. My goal is to modify this truck tastefully while bringing it back to its former glory. Undoubtedly, you've heard the iconic roar of a V8 engine like this, but do you know why it makes a sound like this when other engines like 4 cylinders and 6 cylinders and pretty much any other type of engine, they're not able to reproduce this sound? Well, the sound comes from the design of the crankshaft. Now, this engine, as well as the vast majority of other V8 engines on the road, use a type of crankshaft called a cross-plane crankshaft. This crankshaft has its advantages and disadvantages. However, the sound comes from one of its disadvantages. That disadvantage is actually that the firing order, rather than alternating from one bank to the other, left, right, and so forth, it actually does something a little bit different. It goes left, right, right, left, right. And it's a disadvantage because it hinders exhaust flow a little bit, having the same bank fire 2 times in a row. However, it's not really that big of a deal, hence these engines are so common, but that is what gives it such an iconic sound. There is one other type of V8 crankshaft design, perhaps most notably found in some Ferraris, and that's called a flat plane crankshaft, whereas it's basically a crankshaft that is in a flat plane. The flat plane crankshaft does have its own advantages and disadvantages, but it does not share the rumble of a V8 like this. Well, let's do a cold start and see what this sounds like before I install the new exhaust. The muffler on the back of it is a factory style muffler, I believe, that's probably pretty restrictive, and it results in having a low exhaust volume, so most of what you hear may very well be the noise of the engine itself. Now, I'm not going to rev the engine while it's cold like this because that is not good for it, especially with the diesel. However, yeah, I can definitely hear that the engine itself is making a lot more noise than the exhaust does. Well, I am really stuck. This happens all too often, even with 4-wheel drive. It's just really wet and muddy out here. While I'm waiting for someone to come and help me get unstuck, I do want to talk about the exhaust that I'm going to be installing, and it is a Diamond Eye Performance catback exhaust. I want to give a quick thanks to Chris, a viewer who sent this to me, so thank you very much for that. Now, I believe this exhaust is an aluminized exhaust with a stainless muffler. The muffler itself, I believe, has a pipe that goes straight through it, and it has some holes in it to help the exhaust gases expand, which causes it to quiet the exhaust a little bit. But the advantage of this design is that it's less restrictive than a factory-style muffler, which has all sorts of baffles and compartments in it, which really hinders the exhaust flow. Now, if you're a longtime viewer, you may know that I'm not a huge fan of super loud exhausts, and so while I don't know exactly how loud this is going to be, I'm hoping it's not too loud, although, I mean, I do expect it to have a decent amount of volume. But, like I said, we're going to have to wait until it's installed to really find out for sure.
The next day.
Alright, it was really cold last night, and it's really cold today, about 20 degrees, so the ground is completely frozen right now, so I think I can get myself out. So yeah, as I'm raising this thing up on the lift, I do want to say thank you to all of you who left comments on my last video, which was the lift installation. Some of you guys had some concerns about various things like the size of the pad, etc. I really do appreciate your concern, so thank you very much for that. I assure you I'm going to be very careful as far as getting the center of gravity correct, and I also did go ahead and buy an under hoist support stand, which I will be using today just for safety. So we'll lower this down to the stops. Yes, I do need to tighten up the cables. They're not exactly even. It's very tricky to do. All right, we are on the stops, so we should be good. You think this cross member is strong enough here? I think it probably is. The frame would be better, or maybe the hitch or something like that, but I'm kind of limited on what I have to work with here because of the height. So yeah, that's probably pretty good. That'll keep it from moving around too much. Well, let's see what we have in here. Sorry for that noise in the background, which I'm sure you can hear. I have a diesel heater running because it's so cold out here, and I need something to keep my fingers from turning into icicles. It does come with an exhaust tip, so that's nice. We got a flange here. Yep, that's a straight through muffler. Got a new gasket. Plenty of hardware. Well, it looks like it's about ½ an inch bigger than the existing exhaust, so this is probably a 3.5 inch and this is probably a 4 inch.
Undoing rusty exhaust hardware can be one of the most challenging parts of disassembling an old exhaust.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh. Number 3. I've become aware that there's a gap up here. It looks like this bolt all the way in the back here may have been broken in the past and they never replaced it. Now pretty much all I have left to do to remove this old exhaust is remove some of these exhaust hangers. The last time I did a video where I did exhaust work, it was on Billy Bob, and you guys gave some really good advice for tips on how to remove these exhaust hangers. Things like spraying it with penetrating oil. There we go. All right, last one. This exhaust feels quite a bit heavier than I expected, sort of. There it is. So the existing exhaust here, from the catalytic converter all the way to the tailpipe, is just a one-piece affair. From the muffler back, it does look like it's pretty new. There's like very little surface rust on it. And yes, stainless steel does sometimes rust. It also depends on the grade of stainless steel, but a lot of the time the stainless steel used in exhausts can be a lower quality stainless, which develops a surface rust, although it still does last a long time.
Somehow, the old studs have to be removed. After using just about every tool in my arsenal, I was rewarded. 1 down, 3 to go.
All right, I got all 4 of the studs out, and I'm just gonna replace these with regular old nuts and bolts. Studs are totally unnecessary here, and it just makes it harder for the next time I need to remove this when they're all rusted together and I need to cut them. If I just use bolts, they just fall right out after I cut them.
And the new exhaust is really easy to install because it basically comes in small pieces. So this piece goes on next, and it kind of just fits inside of this, which is a tight fit. I think the muffler goes on next. There is sort of an almost optional piece. It's basically like an extra piece that I think it's intended for the long bed trucks, just to make the exhaust system a little bit longer. But this is a short bed, so I think I'm gonna skip that. Yeah, I was definitely right about that extension piece not being for this truck, because there's no room for it. Well, I think the exhaust is sagging a little bit more than I would like, so it's probably a good idea to install one of the hangers now. Maybe I can get this through here first. Hey, there we go. It's not lined up yet, so I know this is preliminary. I'm definitely not going to tighten it down, but at least the exhaust is not just hanging from the front end. Cool. Yeah, so that goes something like that. So I have all of the exhaust components connected with the exception of the exhaust tip, which I'll deal with later. But I have everything pretty much in place, so now I can go ahead and tighten down all the connectors. A pro tip is when you're assembling an exhaust system like this, don't start tightening things until everything is together and where you want it. Cool, that seems pretty solid. Alright, I am excited to start this up and see how it sounds. Oh, and apparently it is now 16 degrees Fahrenheit out, so it's even colder than it was before, but I don't expect any drama from this truck because it's pretty awesome. Well, that doesn't sound bad at all. It actually sounds really good. It sounds deep, it has that V8 sound to it, and it's not very loud, although we'll see later once it warms up. I'll try revving it up and we'll see what it sounds like then. So far, I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty great. From in the cab, it's not very loud at all. From out here, it's obviously probably a bit louder, but no, it's really good. It's got that deep, nice sound. Super happy. So a bunch of you guys have been asking for merch, and well, ask and you shall receive. So I had this artwork done of Brandon. It's got towing mirrors, we have roof marker lights, and look at the flatbed on the back there. Now Brandon doesn't have any of those things currently, but he will by the end of this project series. I'll put a link down in the description below to purchase this design, and I do also have an alternate design which is perhaps a little bit less politically correct if that's your cup of tea. That link is also down in the description below, and if there's no link down in the description, then maybe they removed it. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you do want to follow along with the project to see all of the cool things that Brandon will get over time. And then one more quick note, you guys may have noticed, at least some of the audio files out there, you may have noticed that the audio quality for this video maybe wasn't quite up to par. The problem is that I actually dropped my lapel mic into some brake fluid and it worked for a while at maybe like 95% of the quality, but it kind of kicked the bucket and stopped working. So I've been trying to use other microphones to get the job done, and it just hasn't really been working quite well. And I've also been doing a lot of experimenting. I probably just purchased about $3,000 worth of microphones and audio equipment so that I can hopefully have really kick audio
going forward. And even right now, I'm using a new lapel mic that I bought, which was quite expensive, and it's a pretty major improvement over my last one. So as long as I don't drop this one into some brake fluid, then we will be in pretty good shape. In any case, thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.